Assisted by Henry Svedrovsky and the Standard Symphony Orchestra, Eleanor Aller will play Eric Korngold's Cello Concerto from the motion picture Deception.
Hi everybody, my name is Hannah Holman and I'm a professional female cellist. I want to introduce you to some lady cellists that I feel are underrepresented or little known. Today we're going to talk about cellist Eleanor Aller Slatkin. Eleanor was born in New York City, May 20th of 1917. I joined the New York City Ballet Cello Section in 2012. The principal cellist of the New York City Ballet is cellist Fred Slatkin. Fred comes up to me and he says, "Well, of course you know my mother, right?" And I had to admit, this was difficult for me because I am a big cello geek and I feel like I knew everything about cellists, but obviously I don't. I had heard of Fred's brother Leonard Slatkin, the conductor, but I did not know about his mom Eleanor, or his father Felix, or the Hollywood String Quartet, or anything. Eleanor grew up with musical parents. Her dad was Gregor Aller, and he was a Russian immigrant cellist. Her mom was Fanny, and she was a pianist that studied at the Warsaw Conservatory. Eleanor had music all around her in her house. They eventually moved from New York to California, to Hollywood. And Eleanor officially started the cello at the age of 9 with her father. She was obviously talented, and in a year she had won first place in a competition in California. And by the age of 12, she had won another competition that gave her the opportunity to perform at Carnegie Hall in New York City. By the age of 16, she had won a scholarship to go and study at the Juilliard School back in New York. And there she was in the studio of cellist Felix Salmond. But she always said that it was her father that gave her the real technical foundation, but Felix Salmond, her teacher at Juilliard, freed her up musically. She could have had a big solo career. In fact, when she graduated from Juilliard in 1939, she toured the US on several solo tours. But she really had in her heart that she wanted to be a chamber musician. That was her big passion. So she had gone back home to Hollywood. She was invited to a chamber music reading one night in 1939, and she re-met this violinist named Felix Slatkin, and I think she was hugely smitten. They played together that night. They fell in love. They got married later that year, and immediately they formed what would become the Hollywood String Quartet. Also that year, she won the principal cello position with the Warner Brothers Studio Orchestra in Hollywood. That's huge. There was no other female cellist holding a principal position, let alone very few females at all in Hollywood at that time. Just to prove that she could fit in with the boys, on one of her early days on the job, she told the filthiest joke possible, and everybody was like, okay, she's cool. She'll be fine. She played on many, many, many soundtracks. She was in the Warner Brothers Orchestra until 1968. Probably her hugest claim to fame, although she never officially got credit for it in the movie, was that she played the solo cello part in the movie Deception, 1946. The composer was Eric Korngold, famous Hollywood composer. This was going to be his last. It would turn out to be his last Hollywood movie. It was about a cellist, a composer, and their love interest, a pianist. The pianist was played by Betty Davis, the composer was played by Claude Rains, and the cellist was played by Paul Henreid. The movie starts off with Paul Henreid coming back from Europe from a concentration camp and playing the Haydn D major concerto. Of course, this is played in real life and the real soundtrack by Eleanor, and she sounds so amazing. And the cadenza is written by Korngold, and it's an awesome cadenza. I wish I could get my hands on that. Then we see the movie going through where this composer, played by Claude Rains, his name in the movie is Hellenius, actually composes a cello concerto. And so we see the composer, Claude, at the piano, which is really Korngold, and so that's really cool because you kind of hear how Korngold himself wants the cello concerto to sound. And then there's a dress rehearsal, and then there's the final performance, and of course, all along, the cellist is Eleanor. The movie's fantastic, and I totally urge you to go and see it. And in addition to seeing it, really listen to it, and especially listen to the cello part, because Eleanor sounds exquisite. And get this, she was never even mentioned in the credits. Along the same time that she was doing all this work at Warner Brothers, she and Felix were going gangbusters with the Hollywood String Quartet. They won a Grammy for their Beethoven String Quartet No. 13. They were touring all over the US and Europe. And they worked very closely with composer Arnold Schoenberg on his Verklerk de Nacht. And there's a great film about this specific thing. If you want to learn more, I urge you to look for that. They won a Gramophone Award for the recording of the Verklerk de Nacht. It's really beautiful. After teaching at DePaul, she came back to Hollywood, and she just, I guess, didn't quite have enough of playing Hollywood scores, because then she was the principal cellist of 20th Century Fox from 1972 until she retired in 1985. John Williams loved her cello playing, and he wrote a special cello solo for her in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind in 1977. So listen for the cello solo. So there you have it. There's Eleanor Aller Slatkin. I hope you have enjoyed getting to know her a little bit, and if you want to learn more, I urge you to seek out recordings of the Hollywood String Quartet, and for sure go and watch the movie Deception.